a barrel roll.
Starships are awesome, actually. Before I even mention how bad they are in this video, I have to talk about how cool they are. I have played so many games of Starship Hunter this expansion, and while I haven't really played with many of the other Starships, the Hunter one definitely isn't bad, I will say. That being said, there's 6 of them in total. When we actually look at the stats for the other Starships, it really does start to paint a picture why they are so bad. And, like, can you blame the Starships themselves? They're held back so much by power creep from the previous year that they almost can't really do anything. A lot of the Starships are about building a lot of stats on board, and that doesn't work. The only reason the Hunter Starship is any good is because, well, it kills you from hand. The Legion's Bane is very intentionally supposed to be the smallest starship. It is the only one that is directly aggressively oriented, and you can see that through the pieces and how you are, well, meant to play with it. You have Fell Fused Battery, which is a 2-mana, 2/3. After this minion attacks, give your other minions +1 attack, starship piece. Shatter Shard Turret, which is a 3-mana, 2/4, Rush Wind Fury starship piece. And then your spell is Warp Drive. 3-mana Fell spell, draw 2 cards. If you're building a starship, they cost 2 less. These cards are actually kind of cracked. Fell Fused Battery is amazing for buffing your board when you are playing an aggro deck. And well, the only aggro deck that's available to Demon Hunter currently is Pirate Demon Hunter. And it's no surprise that when you have cards like Sigil of Skydiving or the location Dangerous Cliffside, you're kind of very happy to use Fell Fused Battery to attack and give those charge minions attack. Shatter Shard Turret is actually Crab Rider. Remember that little guy? Yeah, Crab Rider is a big fan favorite. Shatter Shard Turret is of course more expensive, but it has a higher base attack. They combine actually very well when you play and launch your starship. You can attack twice because of the Rush Wind Fury and give your whole board +2 attack for a 5-mana 4/7. That's not bad at all. Especially when you actually put Warp Drive into consideration. Because it's 3-mana draw 2, that's already fine, but the cards cost 2 less. So it's a mini Skull of Gul'dan, and Skull of Gul'dan was an amazing card. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Skull of Gul'dan was an amazing card. The thing is that I don't think you want to be running this in Pirate Demon Hunter. It's not that the cards are, like, necessarily bad, it's just Pirate Demon Hunter has better cards. And that's really unfortunate, because, well, where else could you possibly run this? You can't play any kind of other aggro Demon Hunter, and they aren't combo oriented, so it kind of like screws you if you can't play this in an aggro deck. That's, again, strike 2 for the cards just not being that strong, and we can't have cards that aren't very good in the game anymore if you want them to see play. Like, you can't just have kind of mediocre pack filler cards be played in decks anymore. They kind of have to either synergize with the powerful cards, or they have to be individually powerful, and that's not what happening right here. Next, we move on to the Spirit's Passage. Like most starships, it has 2 pieces. They are Guiding Figure, which is a 2-mana 3/2 Spellburst, trigger a random friendly minion's death rattle starship piece. And Soulbound Spire, 3 mana, 2/2, Death Rattle, summon a minion with cost equal to this minion's attack, Starship Piece. Starship Piece, of course, means when it dies, it goes into your Starship. These two pieces are actually not that bad on paper. Guiding Figure is a great way to trigger Death Rattles. It's only slightly worse than something like Terrascale Stalker, which is a card that hasn't seen play in years. And Terrascale Stalker is only good because it was buffed. Guiding Figure really should be a good piece, but it's kind of held back from the fact that both Soulbound Spire is weak as an individual piece, and the fact that, well, you can't really play for board. You can't really play for a giant starship that all it does is build stats and doesn't really end the game, like the Death Knight one. And it's not like the Death Knight payoff card is very good either. Suffocate is a 4 mana shadow spell, destroy a minion. If you're building a starship, also destroy a random neighbor. You wouldn't play Assassinate in any class, maybe even 2 years ago, right? A 4 mana Assassinate, you wouldn't play in almost any class. So we're in 2024, you can't really play this card. It's just not that good. Yeah, if it's a starship deck, you're probably running it, but that doesn't mean that it's a good card. It genuinely is holding the deck back, which doesn't help. Of course, you can always make the same argument that Reno Lone Ranger really affects all the starships, but it affects the Death Knight one disproportionately because the Death Knight one is exclusively stats on board. It does not have any other effect. It is exclusively summoning a lot of stats on board. But it's not Reno that's really the issue with playing for board. It's kind of everything. The meta is incredibly hostile towards decks that really play for board, especially in unbelievably slow manners like Death Knight, and I can't really explain one card is the reason why. It's just how Hearthstone is nowadays. Death Rattles are significantly weaker than Battle Cries, and since, well, it's not like you're dealing damage or using it to heal, the Death Knight one just doesn't work. The Nether's Eye, the Warlock Starship, the antithesis to every other starship because it's actually the Legion Starship. And it's the worst one. What do you want me to say? I can't even place what this card was supposed to do. Let's look at these starship pieces. You have Heart of the Legion, which is a 2 mana 3/2 with lifesteal. Okay. Spellfire Thruster, which is a 3 mana 2/3 with Spell Burst. Deal this minion's attack damage to 2 random enemy minions. Alright. And Bad Omen, a 6 mana Fel spell. In 2 turns, summon 2 6/6 demons with Taunt. If you're building a starship, summon them now. Okay, this spell is actually really strong. 6 mana, summon 2 6/6s with Taunt. That's actually really good. And technically, it's not that hard to play a starship piece, so it's almost always going to be active, but let's take a look at Heart of the Legion and Spellfire Thruster for a second. So, Guiding Figure had a great effect for the same stats, and Heart of the Legion has Lifesteal. And then Spellfire Thruster is 1 more mana than Biopod, which we'll get to eventually, and only hits minions. It does hit 2 minions, but yeah. So the Warlock Starship is entirely defensive. How could that ever work? Truly, how is this ever supposed to work? I'm baffled looking at the Starship for Warlock. Truly, what were they thinking? There's nothing to say about this. There's no decks that could ever want this card. It's not like Demon Hunter where, okay, well, just because it's not the best, it doesn't make the cut in a deck, but it at least had a deck it was supposed to go into, or, Death Knight where, the deck is kind of just bad and doesn't really work that well. The Warlock one just doesn't function at all. I truly have no idea what they were going for with this, and I can't even, draw that many comparisons to cards to see, oh, maybe it could have been good. Yes, Bad Omen is actually an amazing card, but the other two? What? Did they actually think these cards would see any play? I don't get it. I actually just don't get it. Next, let's talk about Rogue and the Scavenger's Will. So, Rogue is Rogue, of course, and they didn't actually receive any starship pieces aside from their legendary, but we'll get to that one last. The whole thing about the Rogue's Starship is that, well, it's scavenging. It is stealing Starship pieces from other classes. You have Starship Schematic, which is a 1-mana spell, discover a Starship piece from another class. Scrounging Shipwright, a 2-mana 3/2 Drain Eye with Death Rattle, get a Starship piece from another class. And Barrel Roll, 3 mana, deal 5 damage to an undamaged character, costs 1 if you're building a Starship. Honestly speaking, the Rogue Starship seems pretty decent. I've seen a lot of games of it on ladder, and the fact that you can just build good starships by getting good discovers from Starship Schematic is actually pretty interesting. A lot of the Starship pieces do synergize pretty well with each other across classes, like Biopod and Guiding Figure are actually kind of disgusting together, I will not lie. Of course, again, we're going to get Biopod last, because Hunter is definitely going to be last. And, of course, the issue with Rogue is that they have to pay a big tax on all their Starship pieces, 1 to 2 mana more than every other class, but that's the Rogue tax, right? Because they're playing Thief cards. Barrel Roll is actually kind of mid. I haven't really seen the card be that good, I'm going to be honest with you. It isn't the worst thing ever, right? 3 mana, deal 5 damage to undamaged character, cost 1 less if you're building a Starship. I can't outright say it's a bad card, because 1 mana, deal 5 damage to a minion is pretty good. 1 mana, deal 5 face is pretty good, but it's only undamaged characters, so there is a bit of give and take there. But the real killer is the Gravitational Displacer. 5 mana, 4/3, Starship piece. When this is launched, summon another Starship. It's insane. You basically are able to get a gigantic Starship out, and if your opponent can't deal with it, well, I mean, they're going to take a lot of damage. The issue, as always, is, well, you can't really do that. You know, if your Starship is all about stats, it kind of just doesn't function that well, and that's a little unfortunate. Rogue, especially Thief Rogue, is kind of able to combat this because Thief Rogue has so many ways to discount mana, and, well, because you're Rogue, you have infinite card draw. If you're able to get randomly generated spells of, like, great quality from other classes, you can kind of make up for the fact that you have such a gigantic tempo loss playing the Rogue Starship, and I think that that is not bad, actually. I do think the Rogue one is really, really cool, and I would like to play it. I haven't just yet, but I have ran into it on ladder. Does not seem very strong. I will not lie to you, but what are you going to do, right? When the only thing that Rogue can really do right now is just draw 10 trillion cards and then summon a bunch of, 4-drops for free, because they use they use Robocaller and Everything Must Go. Of course, that isn't saying that, it can't be good. Of course, we are getting a Warrior, Shaman, and Paladin Starship in the mini set, but that's not for, 2 months from now, so I'm not going to wait just to upload this video for that. And that will be a big buff to the Rogue one specifically because, well, Rogue gets their other Starships. Hopefully those ones are able to save this one, but it just doesn't really do much. I think if you would play or wanted to play Thief Rogue, you'd rather just play Excavate Rogue is kind of the thing. And Excavate Rogue, well, it has the Azurite Scorpion and not Scrounging Shipwright. So, yeah, there is that. So, we're actually going to take a step back for a moment and talk about the neutral Starship cards. I know that you might have expected me to put them at the beginning of the video, but we have to talk about why the neutral Starship cards are good. Let's start with, of course, Dimensional Core. 3 mana, 3/2, Divine Shield, Starship Priest. Okay, remember when I said that the neutral cards were good? Okay, not this one. This one's unplayable. It's part of the reason that Starships are so terrible, and it's genuinely worthless. There's Crystal Welder, which is a 2 mana, 2/3 with Taunt, Battlecry if you're building a Starship, gain +2/+2. This card seemed actually to be pretty good early on, but as time goes on, it's just not better than running anything else. You have the Exodar, which is an 8 mana, 6/10 Battlecry if you're building a Starship, launch it and choose a protocol. The protocols are to deal damage randomly split amongst all enemies equal to the attack of the Starship, to gain armor equal to twice the health of the Starship, and then to add every Starship piece back to your hand from the Starship, and they cost 1. The X-Star is actually a really good card, and it does see play in Hunter and, well, Hunter. And then we have Arcanite Defense Crystal. 4 mana, 3/4, Taunt, Death Rattle, gain 6 armor, Starship piece. Arcanite Defense Crystal is the best Starship piece of every piece. It's really, really good. And the reason that I save neutral for right now is because it's so good that Druid doesn't even use their Starship pieces. It's also not necessarily that Arcanite Defense Crystal is good, and more the fact that the Druid Starship pieces are bad. But at the beginning of the expansion, Druid was only using Arcanite Defense Crystal. You could summon it with Oaken summons, and you can, resummon the Starship with Hydration Station. That's the only reason that I waited this long in the video to mention this, is that it's better than the other Druid Starship pieces, and you don't even run the Druid Starship pieces in a deck. So I just wanted to, I don't know, I just thought it would be fun for context. But let's move on to Druid, because, oh boy. Of course, the Druid Starship is the Celestial Archive, and honestly, it's one of the cooler looking ones, in my opinion. I don't think it's the best. I still think I like, the Astral Compass, and actually, maybe I lied. Maybe the Celestial Archive is kind of one of the lamest ones, now that I think about it, actually. But that is very in theme with Druid, to be incredibly lame. The 3 Druid cards we're going to be talking about are Shatari Cloakfield, a 2 mana 1/3 with Elusive. Your first spell each turn costs 1 less, Starship piece. Shatari Cloakfield is actually pretty cracked on paper. Like, it's a 1 mana 1/3 with Elusive, and then continually discounts at the start of each turn. And I don't blame people for thinking this one would be good. I really don't. Especially when you factor in Starlight Reactor. 3 mana 3/3 Starship piece. After you cast an arcane spell, recast it. I really can't blame anyone for thinking the arcane spells would be pretty good, especially when you consider that at the same time this expansion they added Arcanite Revelation, which is a 1 mana arcane spell, draw a card. If it's a spell, it costs 1 less. So I really can't blame people for thinking the arcane package would be good enough for this expansion, but I mean, it just isn't, right? Like, yeah, you have Sleep Under the Stars, yeah, you have Sparkling Phial and Bottomless Toy Chest, but the new cards just weren't good enough. They didn't really make it that much better. And then, well, the third card is Exarch Othar, which is 4 mana 3/3 Draenei. Battlecry, if you're building a Starship, get 3 different arcane spells and reduce their cost by 2. And if the arcane spells already aren't good enough, what makes a card that gives you random arcane spells good enough? It just isn't. And that's kind of the thing about Druid is, yeah, you were actually better off to just play Arcanite Defense Crystal and do that. And then, well, that wasn't even that good. It took a week, and then people were like, yeah, this is actually not even that good. So Druid Starship was incredibly overhyped, is kind of the thing. Vicious Syndicate, they genuinely thought it would be broken, and I was like, I'm not really sure. It seems kind of okay, and it wasn't even okay. Like, there's not much to say about it, right? Because it's, like, so bad that it's not even worth experimenting. Like, unlike, the Death Knight one, which, it could be okay if you can get enough stats and, like, not get poofed or not just lose on board, it's kind of okay. But it's kind of like in the Warlock tier where it's just completely useless. Like, at least, like, Demon Hunter has use in Pirate Demon Hunter. Even if it's not better than, like, full Pirates, it still kind of can go in that deck. Or the Rogue one is all about, just discovering and using Thief cards, but the Druid one just doesn't do anything. There's literally nothing to do with it. And that's not good, right? When you have 3 cards, including a legendary from the set, and they just can't do anything, like, they desperately need to buff Starships, and the Druid one is, like, definitely one of the first to be buffed. It's just so terrible. I don't even know what to say. Alright, look, maybe I'm biased, but I truly think the Hunter one is the best, by far. It's the only one I ever see anyone playing in Legend. It's the only one I ever see anyone posting deck lists for. It's the only one I ever see anyone talking about. The idea is you summon the Starship, you play Yelling Yodeler on it, and your opponent explodes. And it's the only one that can kill you when it's summoned. So, is it really that shocking that this whole video is about how the Starships can't really provide enough value, or they can't really make anything on board? So we're going to end it off with the one that does kill your opponent. I know, it's crazy, right? The Celestial Compass, I do also think the Celestial Compass is probably my favorite looking one. Aside, not including, signature art, but it still is pretty cool to look at. The 3 pieces are Biopod, a 2-mana 2/2 Starship piece with Death Rattle, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to a random enemy. Biopod is actually kind of cracked. Like, I will just tempo Biopod and then use it it's just good for trading, and honestly, that's the thing about the Hunter pieces as well, is they curve very well because you can play Biopod on 2, Specimen Claw, which is a 3-mana 2/6 after your opponent plays a minion attack it Starship piece, on 3, and then you can play Arcanite Defense Crystal on 4, and that's relatively strong. You can fight for board way better than every other class with your Starship pieces, and, well, since you're Hunter, you don't have that much healing, which means that Arcanite Defense Crystal is even better for you. To top it off, Hunter has one of the best payoff cards as well. I would still say that Demon Hunter has the best one, because Warp Drive is, frankly, disgusting, but Hunter has Laser Barrage. 2-mana spell, deal 3 damage to a minion. If you're building a Starship, also damage its neighbors. This is the best removal card Hunter has ever gotten, bar none. And it really shows. If you have ever played Starship Hunter on ladder, it's kind of disgusting, this card. It's so efficient, and even just using it as a Dark Bomb, 2-mana deal 3, is really good. The fact that Hunter is able to actually, well, do something the turn that the Starship is played is really strong. A lot of games as well, in the newer Starship list, you see cards like Cubicle and Ravenous Kraken to either get more copies of Biopod, more copies of Arcanite Crystal, or, if you're really lucky, to summon your Starship and destroy it, and then, well, because of Cubicle, you'll get the Starship back. Again, it does have the same issues of other decks when you do try to do that, where your Starship can be stolen, it can be removed, it can be poofed, it could be, silenced, it could be polymorphed, but who cares, right? You just deal so much damage. You're playing Hunter. If you're summoning your Starship and destroying it, it's going to deal a lot of damage to your opponent's face anyway. It really does show that Hunter is the best one. I showed those clips for a reason, that Hunter is consistently able to kill when it gets its Starship, like, up and going, and none of the other classes have anything even remotely on Hunter when it comes to turns of Starships. They're all so much weaker that it makes you think, what were they doing? Like, were they not trying to make them equal in power level? And I don't even think Starship Hunter is that great of a deck. I think it's like a tier 4 deck at best, and that says something, right? That the best Starship is not good. All of them are just bad. Why would you play a Starship when you could get, like, Tsunami on turn 5? Or you could play, like, Everything Must Go. It's just... or even in Hunter, you could play, like, Mystery Egg. It's just, why would you ever play a Starship when there's just better cards? I know that this video is really just a rant video about how Starships are kind of bad, and that's the whole point, right? Starships are bad. They are. But I like them. I really, really wish Blizzard would buff them. That's kind of the whole point of this video, is I'm just begging. I'm really begging for them to buff Starships. And honestly, I kind of hope you guys will beg too. Maybe they don't need to buff the Starships individually, right? You can nerf cards that are problematic and, well, are dominating the meta anyway, but some of the Starship pieces definitely need buffed. Dimensional Core is actually unplayable. Both of the Warlock Starship pieces are terrible. Soulbound Spire is not great, and, like, what do you do from there if so many pieces are bad? Starships as a mechanic just doesn't work. It's kind of really sad. That's gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't make videos like this typically. This one is significantly longer than anything I've made of this style, and I've put way more work into it. At the time I'm recording this last segment, it is 10 p.m. at night. I started this at 2 o'clock. And I've been doing this nonstop, and is the only thing I've been doing for 8 hours straight. I haven't even eaten. So, I don't know. Maybe like the video. Maybe. But that's going to be it for me. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.
Shadows are rising again!
Darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tomb. They grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do.